Well, he's back again. Herbert Ong is back with us again. And Herbert and I today are going to talk about the fact that the Tesla community doesn't have anything to argue about anymore. Everything's been solved. Oh my God. Sure. Hey, Herbert, great to have you on.
Thanks, Randy. Great intro.
This is Randy Kirk. Hit the like button if you like Herbert, or if you like me, or if you like either one of us, or if you like both of us, hit the like button, and then subscribe and hit his channel up. Subscribe to him on Twitter. Maybe you have to follow him first and then subscribe to him. Anyway, both of us have Patreon. You know all this stuff, but do it because you can support us, support the channel, support the community. Okay, Herbert, Elon just kind of solved all the issues that the community were concerned about. I was alone in my office. This is my office right here. I was alone in my office, and Ask Kevin gets up and says, "Hey, come on, Elon, wouldn't you be willing to do a little advertising?" And he sits there and he thinks, and he goes, "Sure, why not? We could try a little advertising." And I laughed. I laughed out loud by myself in my room, probably for a minute, because took me by surprise. Not only that he said yes, but also he made this massive decision real time, in front of the stockholders, in front of the world watching. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was an amazing minute. What did you think?
I wasn't surprised, and I wasn't excited, but there's a lot of nuance to this. So I think I need to explain to folks, because they always say that I'm against advertising, when I've always prepped myself by saying I want Tesla to do advertising. Absolutely think that they should be doing advertising. I've been saying this for months, but there's nuances to this. Okay, there's quite a bit that I need to say here. So first of all, the nuance is this: is that Tesla needs to get the electric vehicles to be price parity with gas cars. Ifs, ands, or buts. It almost doesn't matter if there was or wasn't a recession. They would have still reduced the cost of the price of the car. Okay. They raised the price of the car to raise margins because of the waiting list was so long, because they didn't have the factories up in place, and because the supply cost constraints that happened with both the chips and supply because of COVID. They had to raise, their costs went up, they need to raise the prices. So thus Tesla investors got pretty spoiled with 30% gross margins. And then we're upset by reducing the price because they say you should be advertising instead. And I'm like, sure, you should have been advertising, not an issue, but you don't advertise when you are not able to produce the cars. Now that they built the factories, which was only a year ago that they built the factories, the 2 factories were launched 1 year ago, and it takes them a while to scale up. And then they got hit with the macro that's happening. So there definitely was a margin, so the demand was softening in certain places, and so they cut the prices. And then people started complaining, well, you should have been advertising instead of cutting prices. And I'm like, yes, you can advertise, but that's not the goal of Tesla. The goal of Tesla is to get to price parity. And now that you're at price parity, now that you have the 2 factories almost at 50% scale and about to get to 80%, this is a perfect time to continue to advertise and educate folks. So just be clear that I'm never said never. Why do not? Tesla does not need to do advertising. I was never there. But the other nuance here is, let's step back and think about Elon, right? So I rewatched that video a few times. I played it in one of my shows. There's this morning, actually. And I was just trying to really see how this all happened. But you've heard Elon in the past say that, he's not against advertising. He was interviewed by Tesla owner Silicon Valley, and that question was brought up. And he said, yeah, I probably should advertise, he said, because just to shut up the mainstream media, because the reason why they do so much negative news is because you're not an advertiser, and they need to promote their advertisers, right? They need to, kowtow to the gas cars, because they're the number one advertiser for both TV and print. So they have to do that. And so he said, yeah, sure, maybe I should just do that as well. He has said several times that we should probably do education. Okay. But if you watch what happened on the stage, a lot of people think what they saw was Meet Kevin saying, "Hey, Elon, I think you should advertise." And then they think this is what happened. Elon goes, "Oh, you know what? I think you guys are right. I think I've been wrong all this time. Yes, I'll do advertising." It's like, that's not what happened. If you replay it again and you watch what he said, there's merit to the point that people are, I'm preaching to the choir using Tesla.com. In a previous interview, his answer to that was, don't you should advertise in a space? He's been asked this question many times. And his answer in that Twitter space was, well, I have 120 million followers on Twitter. And then people hammered on that, right? My point being that it's not that Tesla Elon specifically is against advertising. And it's just that he sees it as as an engineer and as a brilliant businessman. Is the first thing you focus on building a company that is profitable, building a product that is desired. Then he has talked a lot about how if you have high priced products with great value and I can keep adding value to them, it doesn't matter if people can't buy it. So his company is 100% focused on cost reduction, which is what they have been doing. And they spent 4 hours on Investor Day focusing on that. And now that they have ability to lower the price, they need to get the car price lower so that more people can buy this. And so advertising is kind of like this next thing that you do after you got price parity and after you've got the car until I lost my train of thought there, but so
you've got you got the factory, you got the production, you got the quality, you got a brand, you got folks that love you. And now there's some other folks that don't know you yet.
Yeah, go ahead and advertise. And like I said, he should advertise. But at that thing, if you rewatch what he says, it's not like he hadn't thought about it before. And it's the first time somebody brought it up. That's not the case. He just said, sure, why don't we give it a shot? I think that if you reread how he says things, you do get the sense that he does. After I just said he's not against advertising, you do get the sense that he's skeptical that advertising is going to be the panacea for everything, right? Because he focuses first on product. And so yes, I'm happy that Tesla is doing advertising. I wasn't one of those people that was yelling at the rooftop 3 months ago saying, why price cuts? You should be advertising. Gosh darn you, aren't you guys dumb? You Tesla executives are so dumb. And I'm like, I kept saying to them, it's like, don't you think that the executives at Tesla haven't done the simple math that you're doing to say, if you just spend $50 per vehicle, and then they know this. And again, why didn't they do advertising instead of the price cuts? Well, because regardless of the scenario, there was a demand issue. And so some people are saying you could have advertised to eke out a little bit more volume before you cut the cost. Right. And I'm telling you, his call was get to price parity as fast as possible. Imagine what the world, it doesn't matter how much advertising you do when the price is 10, 20,000 higher than a normal car. But the moment that the world or your price is already lower than a gas car, and then you go advertise like crazy, telling people that, do you realize that the price is low? That's the greatest advertisement. The other greatest advertisement in the world is to be able to say that the Model Y is the number one selling vehicle in the entire world.
Right.
So how do you get there this year with a demand concern because of the recession? You continue increasing the volume. Therefore, you need to sell all of it, lower the price, and advertise. Do both. There's no reason, just like the people calculating the cost of advertising, it's very small. Anyways, it's a meaningless amount of money. And so people were justly upset that it's such a small amount. Why aren't you doing it? But to me, it was like, look, it's kind of like this nice thing to add on, not this thing that would have cut in replacement of the price cut. So lots of nuance in my answer, but hopefully people understood I am for advertising.
All right. So now I'm going to put you on the spot. because I made a recommendation this morning in a video, and I followed it up with a bunch of Twitter polls. And the Twitter polls are actually coming out in my favor, so I'll tell you that in advance. I think that instead of glitzy ads, he said beautiful ads, informational ads. I'm all for that. That'd be great. But I think if you want to do it soon and you want to do it first principles and you want to do it inexpensively, you get a spokesperson. And because those are inexpensive ads to create, they don't take a big fancy agency to get those done. You can use an agency for placement and all the rest, but you don't need the agency for creative. And so I came up with a spokesperson this morning. I've thrown it out there, and overwhelmingly in the polling on Twitter so far, it's a hit. That's Jay Leno. What do you think?
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Jay Leno's very well known in the auto industry because of his, passion. He probably appeals to the much older people. I saw you also said Mr. Beast.
Yes.
And those guys. At the end of the day, the way I see it is that there is not one answer to everything, right? If you say yes, you're going to do advertising, you should do all advertising. That means he's already doing social media. Continue doing that. You then add on everything. It's like some people are going, they shouldn't do a TV commercial. Why? Do it all. Do it all. Billboards, TV, spokespeople, Super Bowl ads.
But you could take Jay Leno and you can apply him to all those things.
Sure.
And I'm curious.
It's one angle.
I'm curious.
Although, I will say that the worst advertisements it's ever done is when they don't showcase the product as the hero, and then only show it at the end. The best products, as follow Apple, they're very successful. They always showcase the product as the hero. Whether you use a spokesperson or not, Tesla doesn't need another draw to listen. They're already sexy and all that. So I'm not against spokespeople. Calm down, folks. I'm just saying that you do all of it, and there's no concern about that. And they're going to reinvent it, like you said. They're probably going to be I hope they do, kind of like the way Apple did it. But
yes.
But at the end of the day, they don't have to either. It's just education. It's just showing the safety. It's just showing the product as the hero. So Sat told me this today in my interview with him this morning, and he brought up a good point. People kept saying, people don't know, and they don't understand, especially the people in the rural, the Midwest kind of things. We should be advertising because they just need to understand. Now, I will say that what his answer was, well, the reason they don't know is because there's not enough superchargers there. And if you put superchargers and you sell, more Teslas there, the Teslas will sell themselves, just like they have everywhere else. Now, again, I'm not against advertising and all that.
Yeah.
The only reason I also will say that the reason why I'm pro advertising is because the problem with Tesla specifically is in the last 2, 3 years, 10 years, all its life, they've been hammered with disinformation and misinformation, like actually aggressive, violent attacks at Tesla because of the agenda that other industries that are being disrupted are fighting for their lives for, and so because of that, you can't just let the product sell itself. You can't just do word of mouth. You need to come back with equal firepower, and that's why the community was formed. We were formed to create FUD. Fight against those folks, and you need to give us ammunition to fight back, right? It's a war. We need more things, and so more of these advertisements give us that ammunition.
So the other thing that the Tesla community has been warring about has been, of course, Twitter. And how much time are you spending at Twitter, and how come you sold your stock so that you could buy Twitter, and gee whiz, we need somebody new to run the company because of Twitter. So Elon solved that too and hired a new CEO. Yeah. So what's your first impression about that move, and what's your second impression about how the Twitter sphere and the entire Tesla community is responding to it?
Okay. So Twitter has, there's that famous Twitter overhang, the stock sales, Elon stock sales dramatically made the stock fall. His distraction from Tesla, all that is true. There are Uber bulls who said nothing Elon ever does is wrong. there's nothing that's, he's not damaging the brand or the company. So again, there's a nuance here, because I've been saying that, well, no, Elon selling stock did cause the stock to fall. Okay. Elon doing things on Twitter, it caused the stock to fall, but it did not damage the brand. And as evidenced by the following large scale surveys that have proven that the brand has not been damaged. I mean, Elon's been known as a controversial figure. There's definitely huge groups of people who will never buy Tesla, no matter how great it is, because of the moral compass. But at the end of the day, the demand for electric vehicles is so high that, and the brand has not been damaged. So I think that's all true. Now, Elon so the measure for me in January, February, March, as the stock fell is tremendously, is the company still succeeding? Is the company still hitting its milestones? And it is. It was. So there's people that complain that, maybe they missed the analysts' estimates of production and delivery. Those did occur. But at the end of the day, I'm still very bullish and still very much saying that Elon, the executive team at Tesla, outperformed. I mean, if you talk about any other company, you'd be so happy with all the milestones that they've ticked off in the last 6 months. Just knocked it out of the park, really, in my perspective. But of course, some people are complaining. They would have hit it more out of the park if he was, yeah, for sure. I agree that. But at the end of the day, this company's run extremely, extremely well. So very happy that he confirmed that he's a CEO of Tesla, that he found a new person. All that's great. And then also because he found somebody who's in advertising, that means that very quickly Twitter will be able to revive its advertising revenue. And so just reduces the risk of him needing to sell to save Twitter again. And then when he said that I'm going to be a CEO, right? I'm definitely the CEO at Tesla. And then he said, the reason I'm doing that is because Tesla is an AI company, an AGI company, and it's a tricky situation and I need to be here to make sure that it happens. That is music to my ears. That means that he's not leaving right away. And Tesla is bigger than anything we've ever imagined. It is AI and AGI. It's going to be AI and AGI. It's always been AI and AGI.
Right.
But it's finally going to become the thing, and he's going to start talking about it every time. He's going to make sure that, and as soon as that happens, when the investing community starts realizing this is real, PE ratios will change, and just the excitement for Tesla will just skyrocket again.
Yeah, I don't know how. I mean, I haven't listened to you enough before on this subject. I'm sure you and I may have talked about it. I think that the macro had a greater effect on the stock by far than any of those minor things, and that the macro is currently still holding it down, because you couldn't have a better news week. You could not. No company, I don't think in history, has had a better news week than Tesla just had. I mean, it's just like, there's a list I put on my show the other day. There's this list of all the news things, Shanghai potentially expanding, permits, I don't know. I can't even think right now because there was so many. And then his knocking it out of the ballpark with the CNBC interview. And I mean, it was all good news. And yet the stock it's up a little bit, but hardly anything compared to the amount of news that was coming through. So I think it's all about the macro. We have to have a risk on environment before the stock's really going to go back to all-time highs. But I also think that risk on is coming back probably this fall. That's my theory anyway.
No, for sure. I mean, macro is the number one reason why the stock fell. What people have been saying is that the macro started happening a year ago around this time last year. And then there was the war. And in September, I was following it very, very closely. From March, May to September, every other company's stock fell significantly. NASDAQ, everything fell big time, except for two companies, Apple and Tesla. They held their own. It fell 10, 15%, but it held their own by September. Then, unfortunately, from September to December, that's when all hell broke loose for Tesla. And it fell dramatically lower than everything else, right? I mean, who knew that it was going to fall from 300 to 100, right? And so that is macro, but macro was already happening beforehand. So there was accelerant to that, right? And that is the people saying it's Elon selling. It was his divisive tweets, and then this, and again, finally, being seen as a car maker without them missing their production delivery just by a little bit, showing that there's all this concern about demand. So then when they came back and did a price cut, then it kind of, both parties, the ones who were negative said, see, there was a demand issue. That's why you had to cut price. And then the people who very happy with that, because that means that they're going to hit the volume still. So which one do you want? Lower margins, or do you want higher margins, or do you want higher volume sales? And so, yeah, it's macro that has definitely impacted Tesla. You cannot not say that. You cannot. Macro hit Tesla hard. It's a high value asset that people can't buy if they even just concerned about the future. They're just going to delay their car purchase. And so, yeah, it's happening.
So, that means there's nothing left for the Tesla community to argue about. Nothing. What are we going to talk about on Twitter? So, do you have any lingering concerns? What's your number? If you're thinking about Tesla, you wake up in the morning, you go, but what if? I mean, is there anything that's concerning you?
All right. So I've been interviewing a number of people in the last month, right? I did Dave Lee, James Dauma, Scott Walter. I've been asking several, the question I've been repeatedly asking is ChatGPT a danger to Tesla? Because Tesla's focus has been on real world AI, which is, FSD, full self-driving. That's their focus. And then ChatGPT comes out of nowhere. And then could you just take ChatGPT as it evolves, as it gets better, and you'll know that it's an exponential curve in how it gets better. Could you just put that into a brain of any bot? And could that, just having that brain, just like humans, be able to figure out the vision, be able to figure out the context, be able to figure out how to grab things because it can just learn on the fly? Are they ahead over a Tesla? So my Dave Lee interview, he gave me some very good perspective, which is true. There's zero concern for auto industry. Tesla has won this game, won it. And like I said earlier in a previous show that we did, the earlier one, that even if there is competitors that show up, even when that happens, and the Chinese are absolutely big competitors, it doesn't matter. The market is so big, Tesla will be the largest company in the world. Okay, so I have zero concern for do you have any concern about the transition to electric vehicles? I mean, we're talking every country is putting in regulations and laws. Every car company is now getting into electric vehicles, maybe a couple stragglers, but it's a done deal. Like that we've got incentives and governments are doing the opposite. They're actually giving incentives. Right. So the transition to electric vehicles is very high probability. It's a done deal. It's happened and Tesla is a winner. So I have zero concern that some competitor will upseat them. And like I said, even if there is a competitor, the market is so big, no issue. I have no concern for energy. Again, that market for that is so massive. And Tesla's again ahead, and they've already gotten the factories in place. I don't have an issue with, concerns that Tesla will, let's not use the word win, but at least garner so much market share and revenue for this that it'll be, again, the largest company in the world, maybe just on energy alone or the two together, right? Then the concern I had briefly for the last month was whether or not bots was ever going to win. So for 6 months, I'm like all over bots, right? Going, oh my God, Tesla has the significant advantage. They're the only company in the world that can actually build bots in scale. They have all the technology to build every part of the bot. They have the manufacturing factories in place, and they have this knowledge, and they have the teams, all that. They can build it. But it's the brains. But Tesla has FSD, and no other company has the lead in real world labeling and understanding of the world, and then moving and making change in the world. And Elon has even said himself, right? He said that you have to have a telescope to find out who's next on FSD. So again, I have zero concern that Tesla will win or be able to do FSD. you do need to pause, because if another company is able to solve robotaxi and Tesla's not able to solve robotaxi, then that, I was saying this, repeating this quite often, that is one scenario where Tesla goes to a $0 crash and burn, maybe not $0, but it's just not going to be a company that you should be very excited about, because anybody who solves robotaxi, any car that you make, no matter how great it is, no matter if it's an electric vehicle, people won't buy that if they can buy another robotaxi. The issue with the robotaxi thing is that it needs to be not LiDAR based, because it's too expensive. You can't just have all these, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment on these cars. And all these other competitors are going to be geofence and all that, right? And again, that's only if Tesla's not able to solve it. If their path in FSD was complete wrong bet, and then they had to restart, then that's the concern. But so far, all the signs are pointing that, in fact, Tesla has made the right call, doing vision only FSD, because now we're seeing, the CEO of Lee, other AI FSD companies, they're now saying that we're now going to drop LiDAR, we're going to go the vision, he was correct, all that stuff. So, with the billions of, and then I always said, do you agree? If you don't agree that what Elon says is that in order to get FSD, you need three things, right? You need to have 1 billion miles.
Yeah.
You need 1 billion miles. You need to have a powerful supercomputer, and you need to have all these neural nets and the technology. If you don't have those three, you can't do this. If you don't agree with that, then if you don't agree that you need 1 billion miles, like I was asking people, could Google just take YouTube videos of cars driving everywhere, feed that into a computer simulation, and then teach? Well, they said no. But now with ChatGPT, could not ChatGPT just watch every single video of a car driving and figure out the rules? Well, you know what I mean? That's where that was my next concern. So I have no issues with auto, no issues with energy. Actually, I have zero issues that Tesla's going to win with FSD and robotaxi. Okay. Then the concern was, could Tesla win in bots? At first, I was extremely excited. There's no way. They're so far ahead. Everything's great. All of a sudden, ChatGPT comes out, and I start asking that question. Could you just put ChatGPT? Everybody I asked the question, they said, no, ChatGPT is ahead, but there's lots of competitors that are there. It literally was just 2 months ago that it got this, and there's lots of places here. And what James Dalma said was that what Tesla has built is something that can build ChatGPT, right? Because ChatGPT is a large language model that can understand the context of kind of the written word, and then be able to understand the context of that, and then but it's like a you can converse with it. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, this is a real world driving thing. But what James Dalma said is that they both rely on an organization with large supercomputers, with tremendous amount of the staff, the team that needs to be there, and then you need to have all of these neural nets and all that stuff, and that it's trivial. Oh, that's not useful, but it's like that's more important than the fact that they hadn't yet done large language models, because you can then take that and then do these things. And so when Elon said this at the CNBC interview,
yes,
and 2 weeks ago, I'd written a tweet that went viral, and I basically was saying that what happened to ChatGPT can happen to FSD. So in ChatGPT a year ago, and earlier this year, in January of this year, Randy, January of this year, if I asked the question to you and everyone else, what's the likelihood that this year, 2023, AI would become very close to being the Turing test, if not already beating the Turing test this year? 99% of people will say, never in my lifetime, not going to happen this year. Because, they'll say, wait, have you seen autocorrect? Fucking wait until it can do that, then come back to me, right? And then, of course, in a matter of a month, people saw ChatGPT, and the entire world is now so impressed with it that their narrative has changed. And now they're saying that now we're talking about consciousness, we're talking about the humanity being destroyed, these conversations happening now, even though ChatGPT is dumb, it makes tremendous amount of mistakes. It's nowhere near that at all, but it became inevitable. It became something that everybody saw, holy cow, it can do this now. It's inevitable that it could do this. So now if you ask the question, what's the likelihood that it's going to get there? They're going to say, 90%, right? 100%. So in a matter of a month. So I said in my tweet that the same thing is going to happen with FSD. So right now, everybody says, FSD is making so much mistakes. It's nowhere near. But all it takes is just another month or two, or maybe 6 months or something. But there comes a point when even with supervised driving, okay, I'm still supervised driving. This is not robotaxi. This is not the regulations coming into place. It is still supervised driving. But then all of a sudden, people are realizing the car can drive itself without making all the dumb mistakes anymore. And now it's not ready for robotaxi. But that alone could have a ChatGPT moment where everybody starts realizing this is inevitable. And then that could spread fire around the world. And then the investment in Tesla will go crazy, right? That's all you need is just seeing the inevitability of this technology before robotaxi regulations, before you roll it out, before you see uptake in revenue. It just needs to be a narrative change. So that's why I sent that tweet out 2 weeks ago. And then at the CNBC interview, Elon said he believes Tesla's going to have a ChatGPT moment. Then he said, so when he said that, I was screaming. Like I was watching at the same time with Jeff Lutz and Christian Valente, and I was screaming, I was swearing, and I'm like, oh my God. He just said what I believe is going to happen. FSD is going to have a ChatGPT moment. And then he said that Tesla will, I wrote it down, but I can't remember exact words, but that Tesla will basically turn the table, turn the table or something on ChatGPT, which is we will become ChatGPT before ChatGPT can become.
Yes.
And so then that is why I am so bullish at this point, because he just basically said Tesla is going to be an AI and AGI, which is what ChatGPT is headed towards. AI and AGI, and they're going to start doing ChatGPT, and it's going to be in Tesla, because I was concerned he was going to create a brand new company, which he did, Truth GPT, and it was going to be all there. And it sounded like he's going to stay at Tesla to do this. And so, okay, so I have no concern at this point.
Good. Wow.
I have no concern for auto. I have no concern for energy. I have no concern for FSD. I had a concern about bots, but now I'm going, okay. Actually, I asked the questions with all the experts out there, and I'm feeling like, no, Tesla can still absolutely win in bots. And even if these guys do this, there's going to be enough business. Again, it's not like it's going to go away.
Huge.
For very specific use cases that doesn't require an AGI brained thing, but it's about mass scale manufacturing of bots. Whoever can build the most, you're going to sell them, even if to somebody else who has the AGI, whatever it is, if you don't have it, but you will have something. And so I'm not concerned about this at all at this point. Yeah.
All right. So now that we've solved all the problems at Tesla, we're going to stop our current conversation, but we're going to continue the conversation. And I'm going to tell you, you don't want to miss the next one. So you want to hit the like, you want to hit subscribe, but you especially want to hit notify, because you want to be notified of my next conversation with Herbert, because this one will probably set YouTube and maybe Twitter on fire. So, and also check him out, make sure that you're following him on his channel, make sure that you're following him on Twitter, that you're subscribing to his Twitter, that you're subscribing to both of our Patreons, all of that stuff and more, and buy my book. don't ever, I tend to forget the book now, so many other things going on, but if you haven't read the book yet, why not? This is Randy Kirk. Thank you, Herbert. And it's been great talking to y'all.
Click the link below to get your paperback, Kindle, or audiobook now.